Hi, I'm Patrick Dunnican. At Gibbons, we believe that citizens need to be informed about the complex issues that affect their lives. That's why we're proud to support the programming produced by the Caucus Educational Corporation and their partners in public television.
Funding for this edition of Think Tank with Steve Adubato has been provided by the law firm of Gibbons, P.C., New Jersey Sharing Network, dedicated to saving lives through organ and tissue donation. The Turrell Fund, supporting right from the start NJ. Choose New Jersey. Our mission is attracting companies to the Garden State. The New Jersey Education Association. NJIT, New Jersey Institute of Technology. And by the New Jersey Economic Development Authority. Promotional support provided by the New Jersey Business and Industry Association. And by NJ Biz, all business, all New Jersey. Transportation provided by Airbrook Limousine, serving the metropolitan New York, New Jersey area.
Welcome to Think Tank. I'm Steve Adubato. We're coming to you from the Agnes Varus NJ TV studios. Our honor to welcome United States Congresswoman Mikie Sherrill to Think Tank.
Thanks for having me.
It's great to have you. How much fun are you having in the spring of 2019 as a member of Congress?
It's great. I have entered with one of the largest classes since Watergate, and it's been incredibly exciting. We have a class of veterans and CIFers and teachers and activists, so it has been an incredibly exciting time to enter Congress.
And you have your background. You have how many children?
I have 4 children.
And your military service in the United States Navy?
I went to the Naval Academy, and I was in the Navy for almost 10 years. I was a helicopter pilot and a Russian policy officer, and then I went on to serve again here in Newark as a U.S. attorney.
So I'm curious, right out of the box. Democratic Party. To those of us in the media and to many Americans, it appears as if there are at least 2 clear wings of the party. A very progressive, some say socialist wing of the party, liberal, very liberal, and those who are more centrist. Nancy Pelosi, who you did not vote for Speaker, Joe Biden, and others. Do you think, or ask yourself, where do I fit?
No, I know exactly where I fit.
Where do you fit?
Kind of my North Star is the 11th District of New Jersey.
Describe it.
It's like the country. We have some very conservative areas of the district. We have some very progressive areas of the district. And then we have a lot of people that really just want to see government work, want to make sure that their tax dollars are being spent wisely, that the things that government has to handle, large projects like the Gateway Tunnel project, or small issues like making sure veterans who are going to their doctor's appointments have child care, all the federal issues that federal government has to handle are being handled well in Washington.
Do you think, Congresswoman, that it is your job to express your views, whether it's on immigration, ICE policy, border-related issues, tax policy, a whole range of issues, the impeachment, the possible impeachment that some of your colleagues want to see happen with President Trump? Do you believe it's your view to express your opinion, your job to express your opinion, or to quote-unquote, classic question, you know where it's going, reflect what you believe the views are of most of your constituents?
Well, I feel very well aligned with my district.
Philosophically?
Philosophically, the things that I want to fight for, the things that I think are going to make this country work better. I think a lot of people in my district agree. So, for example, I have broad support on issues around infrastructure, tax reform, health care.
Go back to tax reform. Should we tax wealthier Americans more than they're being taxed today?
I think we have to revamp the entire tax program. We have to talk about...
Didn't the Republicans do that last year?
No. What the Republicans did was a sort of fly-by-night tax plan that many, I don't think, had even read. And it was not bipartisan. It was not thoughtful. In fact, I think, I was talking to many people who were in charge of corporations who wanted to see the corporate tax rate cut. We want to make sure our corporations are competitive all over the world. But a cut from 35 to 21, nobody was talking about that.
On federal income tax.
On federal income tax for the corporate tax rate. Nobody was talking about that. I mean, I think, 27 people would have been okay with. 25 they would have been thrilled with. 21. I mean, now we've dug this huge deficit hole. It's going to be very hard for the country to operate around.
But Congresswoman, the other part of this, for New Jersey, the federal tax policy changes. The cap, the $10,000 cap on what you can deduct on your state and local taxes in New Jersey. Our understanding is that New Jersey, New York, California hit the hardest.
Hit the worst, yeah.
Define what those federal tax cuts that the president and many Republicans in Congress are touting as great for the country. What do you believe they mean to New Jersey, particularly your district?
They're horrible for New Jersey. It's probably the #1 worst thing the last Congress did to New Jersey. And I got to tell you, we're feeling the hits that just keep coming with the lack of releasing the money for the Gateway Tunnel project or funding the Gateway Tunnel project.
Go back. You're jumping into that. I want to make sure. I want to do a tax thing, but tell folks why the Gateway Tunnel is not simply a New Jersey, New York issue.
We have, as most people in North Jersey know, one rail tunnel into Manhattan, one rail tunnel out of Manhattan. They're over 100 years old. And if just one of those tunnels goes down, we lose $16 billion in revenue over the next 4 years. And that's just one tunnel. The country.
So it's you're saying Gateway's a national issue?
Oh, it's a 20-state in the Northeast.
The president's saying, I'm not going to give New Jersey or New York that. I'm not saying he's saying that, but some argue that, what does he owe New York and New Jersey? They didn't vote for him and are not likely to vote for him in 2020.
This isn't about New York and New Jersey. You know what I tell people from the southern states and across the Midwest? I say, if you want New Jersey taxpayers to keep funding the economy of the United States, because, you know, if you want us to keep our economy rolling and make sure that you have rails and bridges and roads, you need to invest in the economy of North Jersey, because we pay more and get less than almost any state in the nation. We vie for that title with New York. So this is the most critical financial heart of the United States of America. And if the rest of the country doesn't want to invest here, then I think they're going to see grave repercussions.
Go back to the tax policy. I cut you off. I'm sorry about that.
No, it's just...
How bad? You've said, Nicole, our senior producer, what did the Congresswoman say? You said it was an attack. You said the Trump Republican tax plan was an attack on the citizens of New Jersey.
It's horrible for New Jersey. It hits us worse than almost any state in the nation. We already have the most amount of people leaving our state versus any state in the country.
You mean leaving to go to Florida and other places who have different tax structure?
Exactly. And 85% of the people leaving our state are between the ages of 18 and 25. That's our future right there. And so punishing us, hitting us hard with the state and local tax deduction cap, when we already pay so much into the federal government, does feel to me like a true attack on the citizens of New Jersey.
Beyond fiscal issues, by the way, in the second half of this program, we'll be joined by a very prominent Republican state legislator in New Jersey, Holly Schepisi, has a different perspective on some things and may agree on some others. But that's what Think Tank is all about. But make sure you think for yourself once you listen to us. So here's what I'm curious about. Beyond the economics that you're talking about, infrastructure issues, philosophically, there are issues that people perceive to be about patriotism. Congresswoman Omar has said certain things, and I've watched those speeches and try not to take them out of context. In one case, she was accused of saying things that were anti-Semitic. I think she apologized. She said, quote, the relationship with Israel was, quote, all about the Benjamins. After, just recently, talked about the 9/11 attack in front of a group, the CAIR group, CAIR, check it out. She said some people did something on 9/11, and we, the rest of us, she happens to be Somalian by her birth, we're paying for it. Why have the Democrats not been more vociferous in their condemnation of that?
It's so difficult when you're operating this time. I was very upset with those comments. I was in the Navy during 9/11.
It's part of the reason I'm asking you.
I have many friends, many veterans from the Navy and in the military who were activated after 9/11, who decided to serve their country after watching this huge attack on the World Trade Towers and the Pentagon, an attack on our values, an attack against democracy, an attack against the heart of our beliefs. And so I thought that when Representative Omar said, there's certain people did certain things, she should have clarified.
But she never apologized.
She never apologized. She never clarified. But quite frankly, what was even more offensive to me was when this president weaponized 9/11 against different members of the community.
Is that what he did?
He did.
Did he just show the video and ask people to speak for themselves on it, to think for themselves?
No. He put images of Representative Omar and the World Trade Towers falling and incited people so much that there were death threats against her.
Can't Democrats and all people who care about this country condemn both acts? And I'm not saying they're proportional. It's not the debate we're having.
Exactly, and that's what I did. Okay. And that's the statement I put out. And I feel like that's the right place to arrive. The problem is these things aren't always proportional, and it's very difficult to operate in this environment where people are making divisive statements. They're refusing to apologize for divisive statements or explain themselves. And it feels
I hate to say on both sides, I'm sorry, because it sounds like someone else saying that, but it is on both sides.
It's on both sides, and it's exactly the opposite of what the people of the 11th District of New Jersey want to see.
Did you get into politics in any way to get into a personal, vitriolic, negative attack on others who are around you and criticize you?
No, I got into politics because I very much believe that everyone who serves in the Congress of the United States of America, who has taken an oath to the Constitution of the United States of America, should at their very heart be working hard for all the citizens of the United States, not working to divide us. I think our country is weaker when we're divided. Does the president divide us? I think the president divides us, yes.
Intentionally?
I think he does it as to appeal to certain groups of people. I don't know his intentions, but I think he does divide us in a way that's not helpful. I think it's important that we are a united front. I think it's important that we're working with our traditional allies overseas and in Europe.
The new Green Deal. Congressman Ocasio-Cortez in New York got a lot of attention about this. Do you believe it's realistic to do the things that she and others who support the new Green Deal are advocating, which I believe would have fossil fuel and the cars that are driven because of fossil fuel, I don't know, off the road in the next X number of years, and a whole bunch of other things? Is that a realistic conversation?
You know what? I think the conversation that we need to be having is what we're talking about in the 11th District. And as you may sense a theme, I really do think the 11th District of New Jersey is a great place to start leading the country from. And I'll tell you why, because we care very deeply about the environment. We have more Superfund sites in New Jersey than anywhere else in the country. We have the most densely populated state in the nation, so we care about our open spaces. And we have some of the best opportunities in wind power and offshore wind power. But we also know that to bring carbon emissions down, we need to keep funding our nuclear power plants right now so we don't move back to fossil fuels, that we need to come up and craft a pathway forward in green power energy.
Is the other plan is the other plan too radical in your view?
It's about what you're focused on. I think the other plan lacks a focus on the real issues and the ways we move forward.
A couple minutes left. Medicare for all. Those who... a whole bunch of people running in 2020. We'll be talking about that race as well and its implications for our region, New Jersey in particular. Medicare for all. I saw Bernie Sanders the other day, I believe, on a Fox News town meeting, and I'm not convinced I heard how to pay for this. Are you worried about how to pay for it?
I have not heard how to pay for it. In fact, I have asked the head of the Budget Committee to have the CBO, the Congressional Budget Office, provide us what we call a score.
And they don't work
Medicare
for Democrats or Republicans.
They don't work for. They are a nonpartisan organization.
What's the score?
We haven't seen the score.
But how can people say they're for Medicare for all if they don't know what it's going to cost?
Unclear.
So you're not committed to it?
Oh no, I have said quite clearly that I am going to bring health care costs down for people across this country. I think right now that means supporting the Affordable Care Act. That means making sure we have pre-existing conditions covered. That means making sure that people have the 10 essential benefits covered. That means looking into prescription drug costs. But unless and until I see how we're going to pay for something, how we're going to move a huge portion of our economy into another way of providing health care and know that people are still going to be taken care of, that the costs aren't going to go up, and health care is going to be, really good health care, then I don't think, I'm not comfortable moving forward that way.
My last question. We're doing a series called Right from the Start, NJ. The website will be up right there. What it simply is focusing on the needs of infants and toddlers and caregivers for them. Part of your agenda?
I think how we take care of children across this country, it has always been and will always be part of my agenda. Part of the reason, I talk a lot about investing in our school system. I talk a lot about investing in early childhood education because a pathway into a great public school, in my mind, is one of the key ways that people can get into the middle class from any background and any way of life. And so my goal, as I tell people, is always that everybody's kids across this country have the same opportunities in their public school system that I had, that my husband had, and that my kids have.
Congresswoman Mikie Sherrill from the 11th District, I want to thank you for being with us and for your service to our country, and frankly for engaging. And as always, I've watched you, a very civil discourse. Whether people agree or disagree is not the point, but always civil, and we thank you for that.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate it.
And also, the think tank will continue such a civil but thoughtful discussion with state legislator in New Jersey, Holly Schepisi, who happens to be a Republican but with a very clear perspective on things. Think Tank will be right back after this. Thank you, Congresswoman.
To see more Think Tank with Steve Adubato programs and to listen to Think Tank with Steve Adubato, the podcast, visit us online at steveadubato.org. If you would like to express an opinion, email us at info@caucusnj.org. Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/Steve Adubato, PhD. And follow us on Twitter at Steve Adubato.
Think Tank is pleased to welcome State Assemblywoman Holly Schepisi from Bergen County, represents a whole range of, and Passaic County as well. You've been in the legislature how long?
7 years.
You have often been described as not just an up-and-comer, but someone who is a moderate, who is fiscally conservative, but socially open to a whole range of things. How hard is it for you at times to be a part of the Republican Party where you've said, quote, I don't want to be perceived, I don't want to be a party that is perceived to be a party of angry white men. And you said you got in trouble for that.
I did get a lot of pushback, and both positive as well as negative.
But do you believe that?
I believe we are perceived as that. And that's where we as a party must rebrand ourselves, particularly in New Jersey. In New Jersey, we are probably one of the biggest tents that you could imagine. And yet there's this narrative, this national narrative, that we are solely a party of rich white people. And that is not the case, and particularly not in New Jersey. We are the party of the middle class. We are the party of the small business person. We are the party of LGBTQ, minority, female.
In New Jersey?
In New Jersey.
Is New Jersey, Assemblywoman, is New Jersey out of sync with the National Republican Party, 90% plus of whom the Republicans support President Trump's policies? And let's just say the things he has said about women,
Right.
the things he has done and said about immigrants,
Right.
And the overall tone that he has, some would argue is not particularly inclusive.
Right, and it's a fair argument to make. However, if you actually look at the number of women within his administration, when you actually sit down and talk about, we've lost the ability to discuss policy.
What do you mean by that?
Everything is soundbite. Everything is, let's go to the furthest extreme on both sides, whether or not it be Republican or Democrat. And almost everybody I know falls onto a bell curve, kind of in the middle.
Well, then how do we get so, sorry for interrupting, how do we get so polarized? Like, if I'm right, you have to be wrong,
Right.
and you're a bad person.
I
That's
think
not you.
It's not, and it's not the people I know in my party. And in fact, it's so frustrating because the people who I know within the Republican Party in New Jersey in particular are much more open-minded than a lot of people who label themselves as progressives. Progressives are out there shouting from the sky about love and inclusivity and hate has no home here, and then they'll be the first people to tell you how much they hate you because you don't believe 100% of what they believe. People are really clamoring to be able to have honest intellectual discussion and debate and discourse without being labeled as some ridiculous thing just because you and I may not agree on an issue.
Name calling is not public policy making. By the way, you're listening to State Assemblywoman Holly Schepisi. This is Think Tank. I'm Steve Adubato. By the way, the thing you just said about having meaningful discussion, that was the whole point of creating Think Tank.
Right.
That being said, bring it closer to home.
Yes.
New Jersey, you don't like the idea, and again, as we speak in the spring, on April 17th, as we tape 2019, marijuana is not legal in the state. You don't want it to be.
Right.
Because?
I am firmly for medicinal use. I am firmly for decriminalization. We want to talk about social justice. Let's decriminalize. Let's expunge. Let's work.
Expunge records.
Expunge records
up to a certain degree.
Up to a certain degree.
Right.
I mean, if you're out there selling hundreds of pounds of something, you've done a bad thing and you need to do your time. But for, if we're talking about real social justice, and if it's not just a money play in the state, which Frankly, that's all it is. Let's be honest about it. Let's expand out our medicinal program. Let's ensure that people who actually need it for medicinal purposes are getting it. Let's see how it unfolds in some other states. And let's do immediate expungement and immediate decriminalization. Instead, it's all about, depending upon what demographic it's being sold to, it's either social justice or it's money. Well, guess what?
Money into the state.
That money's been spent 20 times over. Nobody's going to see their property taxes go down.
You mentioned property tax, another
Yes.
issue. You have great concerns about this. You've talked about it a lot. What's one thing that would help stabilize, if not reduce, property taxes in the state, the highest in the nation?
We need to redo our entire school funding. We need to figure out a way to, particularly in light of everybody screaming about SALT caps and everything
You mean
else.
state and local deduction taxes, cap at $10,000, state and local deduction, which you agree is a bad thing.
I agree it's a bad thing. However, you know what? Instead of just standing there screaming about how much, we may hate the federal government, this is an opportunity. Bring in every top tax person, CPA, economist, sit down, look at how we currently fund things in the state, and redo it. Let's do a bipartisan thing. Sit down. Why are we funding our schools through property taxes, driving our taxes to be the highest in the nation as a result? Let's figure out a different way. I don't care if we call them user fees. I don't care what we do. Let's revamp everything that we do, take advantage of the tax code, rather than just standing up going, look, there's a squirrel and we hate Trump. It makes no sense.
You think Trump has been the fall guy for a lot of things that are more complicated than that?
Well, before him, it was Christie. And so that's my biggest issue with the state of New Jersey is we don't look at fixing our own problems. We don't take responsibility for our own issues. Instead, we just point fingers at one another and everything continues to get worse.
You've talked about affordable housing. What is the issue, particularly in your district?
Right.
What's the affordable? You have a wealthier district?
I represent a district that's a blend. I have some incredibly wealthy towns, and I have some towns with people who are making six figures and barely getting by because they're teachers, they're police officers, they're DPW workers, they're small business owners who moved into a house that's a 50 by 75-foot lot, 1,100 square foot home, and through no fault of their own, as they're doing everything they're supposed to do, are getting hit with $13,000, $14,000 a year in property taxes because all of our money goes elsewhere in the state and we don't get any of it back. And so now we're being told, okay, in the most densely populated state in the country, where we have the largest outmigration, where we have no population growth, that we're going to double down on bad policy and force overdevelopment in the already most crowded communities to the tune of, in some instances, adding 20, 30% additional housing without any regard to infrastructure or ability to handle it.
Listening to Holly Schepisi, this is Steve Adubato. This is Think Tank talking public policy on a very substantive level. Millionaires tax.
Yes.
Good idea?
No.
Don't we need the revenue?
We need a ton of revenue, but we have a spending problem. Millionaires tax right now, I think it's about 3% of the people in the state of New Jersey pay 40% of the taxes. We have already seen a huge outmigration of millionaires in Connecticut, New York, and New Jersey. Democratic Governor Cuomo in New York, Democratic Governor Connecticut are saying, whoa, this is causing significant issues. We're losing our income tax revenue. We have to stop taxing people out of the state.
What does Governor Murphy not understand about that, in your opinion?
I think he's so wealthy that he doesn't get it.
Come on.
I do.
He doesn't want to lose New Jersey and to other states and lose that revenue.
I honestly and truly don't think he cares because he's a true believer. He really is. And he views it as, and it's not just millionaires. What people don't understand is this impacts every small business owner in the state who has an LLC, an S Corp, a partnership. It would impact them as well. We already have the highest tax rate out of any surrounding state for people in those categories. We have the millionaires tax already. What we're doing is now making it so it's, I think, the number 2 highest tax in the entire country at a time where we are losing people. Let's tighten our belt. Let's stop doing pet projects. We're doing the equivalent of you can't afford your mortgage. You are going to lose your house, but yet you believe that your neighbors should deserve to watch Hulu, and so you take out an advance on your credit card to pay for their Hulu account. That's what we're doing in New Jersey.
We got a few seconds left with Assemblywoman Schepisi. You're an optimistic person. You've dealt with some really tough issues. You had a brain aneurysm in May of 2015. How did that change your view of public life in a few seconds?
It's very freeing. Being in public life right now is really tough. You have to have alligator thick skin. The public is angry. Social media has broken our world. Having almost died, having lived through some of the experiences I've lived through, one, it gives me empathy. Two, it's given me incredibly thick skin. And you no longer care that somebody's being mean to you while sitting in their basement typing up stuff in their undies.
Well said. Thank you, Assemblywoman Holly Schepisi, to be with us on Think Tank. That is it for this edition. For everyone at Think Tank, I'm Steve Adubato. Thank you so much for watching, but most importantly, make sure that you think for yourself. See you next time.
Think Tank with Steve Adubato has been a production of the Caucus Educational Corporation, celebrating over 30 years of broadcast excellence. Funding for this edition of Think Tank with Steve Adubato has been provided by the law firm of Gibbons, P.C., New Jersey Sharing Network, the Turrell Fund, supporting right from the start NJ, Choose New Jersey, the New Jersey Education Association, NJIT, the New Jersey Economic Development Authority, and by these public-spirited organizations, individuals, and associations committed to informing New Jersey citizens about the important issues facing the Garden State, and by Employers Association of New Jersey.
Hi, I'm Judge Michael Giles. As a trauma surgeon, my son, Randy, saved lives every day of his career. When he unexpectedly passed away at the age of 43, Randy continued to save lives as an organ and tissue donor. The New Jersey Sharing Network was with us when Randy gave the gift of life. They are committed to saving lives through organ and tissue donation and educating the public about the importance of donation and transplantation.